KREM 2 News begins now.
Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus. I'm Tim Pham. This is your KREM 2 News Week in Review. Join us as we take a closer look at some of the biggest stories in the Inland Northwest this past week.
This is the budget the mayor delivered at the beginning of this month. By law, city council members have until the end of this year to adopt a balanced budget, and they're expected to do that tonight. Woodward's administration says even though the economic impacts of COVID-19 on the city's budget have largely passed, Spokane continues to wrestle with new uncertainty related to inflation, labor contract increases, continued demand for law enforcement, homeless and affordable housing services, while also seeing a slowdown in revenue due to a waning consumer confidence. Tonight will also be Council President Lori Kinnear's final meeting. Once the election results are certified tomorrow, Betsy Wilkerson will become the first elected woman and black council president in Spokane's history. Wilkerson held an unofficial swearing-in ceremony over the weekend at her church. Kinnear has been on the council since 2016 and worked as a legislative assistant beginning in 2008. Tonight's meeting starts at 6 o'clock. We'll be looking to see if council members adopt the mayor's $1.2 billion budget. It's one of several news stories we're following for KREM 2 News 10 and 11. I'm Kyle Simchuk outside Spokane City Hall.
Mayor Nadine Woodward's proposed budget, approved with slight changes by council, allocates 55% of the general fund budget to police and fire. Spokane's police department will get the largest budget boost in 2024, an increase of 17% from the city's general fund. The $12 million increase will put the department's funding at $85 million next year.
There's not a single thing I hear more often than public safety. And so it should be the largest part of our budget. And frankly, it's not large enough.
Council did tweak some of Mayor Nadine Woodward's financial proposals for police. Instead of allocating nearly $3 million of traffic calming infrastructure funds, council allotted only $1.8 million, which will create a 4-person traffic enforcement unit.
The intent is traffic calming. That is specifically the intent of the ultimate spend, and to stand up an actual traffic unit, which we have not had for a while.
There are guardrails, council said, to make sure those funds are being used for reducing speeding and other traffic violations.
We need to see that those dollars are and those units are actually being used in the way that we are asking them to be used. And so when they do that, then they can get reimbursements from this fund.
The budget for the fire department will go up just under 2% to around $47.6 million. Lori Kinnear urged council members who will remain next year to focus on funding other parts of public safety.
Our firefighters telling us that their equipment is 20 and 30 years old, that's a problem. That has to be addressed.
There are still challenges facing that incoming council, including a $20 million gap in the 2024 general fund. And many council members expressed how difficult this budget process was and urged the incoming administration to start these discussions earlier, like in January. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
That 64-year-old man was attacked near Spokane Community College last February. Witnesses say he wouldn't stop asking a woman for money and was eventually beaten over the head with a skateboard.
20-year-old Sean Shippey appeared in court this evening, 9 months after police say he attacked a homeless man near the Spokane Community College Transit Center. Witnesses say 64-year-old Harold Kahuni approached a woman waiting for the bus and asked her for money and wouldn't leave her alone. Court documents say Shippey interjected himself and tried to pepper spray Kahuni, then chased him around the middle of Trent Avenue before beating him in the head with a skateboard, according to police. Witnesses said the strike was so loud it echoed off nearby buildings. Kahuni died 2 weeks later on March 5th. The medical examiner determined blunt force injuries to the head caused his death. Heart disease and probable methamphetamine use were listed as significant contributory factors.
Your Honor, this is an extremely violent offense.
According to court records, Shippey has a previous assault conviction and has missed 13 court dates in the past 2 years. His public defender asked for a lower bond and told the judge Shippey is disabled. He became emotional when his older sister addressed the court.
He does have disabilities. His disability is autism. So even though he's saying that he understands, he may not there's a very big possibility that he does not understand what you're saying.
Your Honor, given that, I would ask that you release him and allow him to check in with pretrial services so that he has assistance remembering his court dates.
Mr. Shippey, obviously, you don't have much criminal history, but the charges before the court are very significant, and it does raise community safety concerns.
Court Commissioner Eugene Cruz kept bond at $500,000. Shippey is charged with second-degree murder and is scheduled to be back in court December 5th. In Spokane, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
We now know the victim who died was a young girl. Spokane County investigators believe she was killed by her adult brother in a domestic violence situation. The Spokane County Sheriff's Office says it started outside a home on South Prentice Street just before 5 Sunday night. A caller reported an injured female in the middle of the road. We have now learned the girl died as a result of her injuries. KREM 2 News did speak with that girl's family, who did not want her name released. The Sheriff's Office didn't specify how she was killed, but said witnesses reported hearing a possible gunshot before seeing the suspect's car quickly drive away. That car was found around 20 minutes later on North Graham Road. The man believed to be the suspect was inside with what investigators say looked like a self-inflicted gunshot. KREM 2 News has learned the girl was a 6th grader in the Medical Lake School District per a letter sent to families today. The district says crisis support is available for students and staff at every school. Crisis counseling and resources for families are also available. Now, the district did name the student in that letter, but again, KREM 2 News is not releasing her name per the family's wishes. The suspect has not yet been named. The Sheriff's Office said he is in the hospital in critical condition. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
When did you decide that you wanted to run for mayor, and why this job?
It was about a year ago. It was actually, the decision was made really during the holiday season. And I just love the city, and I saw things that I thought could be better. We're at nearly a crisis level in terms of our unhoused population, and I think we've heard from people about not having a plan to really bring them inside, so that will be a #1 priority.
City Council just approved the budget last night. What are your thoughts on what was passed? Would you have done things differently?
Well, the budget still contains a structural deficit. We have built-in expenses that are growing at a faster rate than our revenues. And so that is a hole that we're going to have to dig ourselves out of.
What about the track center right now? Millions of dollars obviously allocated to just keeping that running. So what do you see as the future for funding that?
As I stated during the campaign, I don't think that the track shelter is a best practice. And as a facility, it is also not very adequate for really meeting the needs of the unhoused population.
No matter which part of the city they live in, property crime has affected just about everyone. The current chief has said that we just need more officers on the streets. Do you think that that's something the city will be able to do financially moving forward?
I think we do need to do that, and we probably need to look at current administrative functions within the department, see if there are ways to maybe create some efficiencies. I know what you've just said people want, which is more patrol officers in all parts of the city.
What was your reaction when Chief Meidel said that he was going to retire? And then now what does that mean for you? That's one more thing that has to be addressed right away as soon as you step into office.
Well, first of all, I want to thank him for his service. A leadership change is an opportunity to build on what's worked well, but also to get some new perspectives on what we can do better. And we'll do a search, a national search with community input to determine what are the qualities we're looking for.
What do you say to people who are afraid of your liberal agenda and deathly afraid of not becoming the next Seattle or Portland?
Well, interestingly, I am looking at other cities. I'm looking at Eugene, where they have a homeless street outreach, street medicine team approach. I'm looking at Boise, where they've been more successful in building housing. But then it's ultimately going to be up to Spokane, and I believe we can do that.
Many people at tonight's meeting are now living in RVs. They're cold and frustrated with how long all this help that's been talked about is taking. They were once again reminded by county officials that even with all the resources available, it will never be enough to make every single person whole.
This single mom lost everything and says her insurance lapsed 2 weeks before the Oregon Road fire. 3 months later, she's still looking for help. This woman says she's living in an RV with 4 dogs and a duck, struggling to stay warm. And this couple had been saving up to build a home. Those building supplies turned to piles of ash. Now they can hardly afford their car and tractor payment.
We've been trying to live a normal life, and we just keep getting a gut punch every time we start to walk ourselves back up.
People in Elk want help to survive the winter and say assistance is taking too long.
And no matter what we're doing, it will never be quick enough to help you.
Chandra Fox with Spokane County Emergency Management says aid and recovery takes time.
We don't have the resources to make every single one of you whole.
She says the county is expecting a decision from FEMA regarding federal aid by the end of the year. State Rep Leonard Christian hosted tonight's town hall alongside Spokane County Assessor Tom Konis.
We have reduced values total for both fires on 781 parcels so far this year. And that's $166 million worth of assessed value we've taken off.
Konis says many people have already received a check for the difference.
That goes clear back to the 18th when the fire happened on August 18th through the end of this year. Plus, that'll also carry over to all of next year for them, irregardless of whether or not they rebuild or not.
Many here tonight do plan to rebuild, but for those who were either underinsured or had no insurance to begin with, the path forward is foggy.
We're a young couple that's been trying to make something of our lives in a world that doesn't seem to really care much for people anymore.
In Elk, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
Of all the repairs going on at Spokane Hyundai, one stands as top priority for General Manager Craig Fruin.
I think prevention is 9/10 of it. I'm sure these fellows can concur.
Across eastern Washington, around 5,400 Hyundais fall under the recall for a fault that makes them easy to steal. Spokane Hyundai has a simple fix that'll keep them working overtime this weekend.
Open exclusively to perform the 993 campaign. You may know it as TikTok thefts.
Over the summer, Spokane police and Spokane County deputies dealt with the spike in stolen cars seen nationwide.
So that when vehicles get stolen, they're often used in the commission of other criminal acts and often driven in dangerous ways.
Puts our deputies and officers in potential danger, plus the public. So this truly is a community event.
A joint task force was able to make a dent in the problem.
What we determined to be several key arrests, a handful of people that were juveniles that were responsible for a number of these incidents.
But Hyundais and Kias are still susceptible to theft, and thieves are still causing crashes, even deaths, as near as King County, Washington. So this quick software update is key.
Plug into the data port.
The recall impacts several models of Hyundais from the years 2011 to 2022.
The easiest way to find out whether your vehicle is affected or not, just Google Hyundai recalls and just make sure you look for the HyundaiUSA.com version.
From there, you can scan your license plate or enter your VIN number. Anyone with a push-button start is not part of the recall.
When you lock the vehicle with your key fob, it engages the immobilizer, and if your vehicle is not unlocked with your key fob, it will not be able to be stolen.
Yeah, that's all. Then once it starts going, we just let it sit there. We have multiple tablets, so we can just kind of line up cars.
A couple hours of waiting could save you. Shannon Mowdy.
That we don't sit back and just hope. Hope's a terrible strategy.
KREM 2 News.
According to a search warrant filed in Spokane Superior Court, detectives have surveillance video which shows 11-year-old Lily Stallworthy being shot by her older brother outside their family home Sunday. Authorities say her 31-year-old brother took off after the shooting. Deputies found him slumped over in his Ford Mustang a short distance away. Detectives believe he turned the gun on himself. He was taken to the hospital in critical condition. His 11-year-old sister died hours later.
It's really tragic. These are really good people, the Stolworthy family. They've raised a lot of children, a lot of good kids in the community, and so we all just feel really bad for them.
Teresa Hudson lives next door to the family. Court documents reveal Lily was the youngest of 4 adopted girls.
I helped them along the way, every step of the way with these kids, trying to get them into a better situation than what they came from.
Lily's parents told police she had been acting up recently and ran away from home days before Thanksgiving. Her brother held on to her belongings and stopped by to return them when Lily came home.
I don't know why he shot her. I don't understand, because I didn't see them fighting out in public at all. They seemed like they were fine.
Court documents say the 11-year-old followed her brother outside to get her things. Lily's mom went looking for her when she didn't come back inside and found her lying on the street. Lily's parents told deputies they didn't hear the gunshot. Hudson says her husband did.
He heard what he thought was like a firecracker, and then the car speed off, and he looked out there. He didn't see anything. He had no idea what was going on.
Neighbors along this street are still struggling to make sense of what happened and why.
Can't imagine going through Christmas and having those missing people not there. So it's just sad. Our community could use a lot of prayer.
And the medical aid community will honor Lily during a candlelight vigil Thursday night inside Wilcox Park. That vigil begins at 6 p.m. and everyone is welcome to attend. Reporting in Medical Lake tonight, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
Well, Governor Jay Inslee attended a ribbon cutting for the future site of a new electric vehicle battery plant. He also attended a roundtable with Habitat for Humanity leaders. Moses Lake is about to get a brand new electric vehicle battery plant.
In our ability to defeat climate change and grow our economy, it would be battery construction and design. Let's go.
Governor Jay Inslee was just one of several state leaders attending the ribbon cutting at the site of the future plant.
We're building a new economy in Eastern Washington that the world is going to look to for relief, and to the world.
Rosendo Alvarado is a manager for the future plant.
This is definitely, it's a great opportunity.
He's from Moses Lake and has seen the area grow the past decade.
We can be a partner within the community to develop other things that are necessary for individuals in the community.
The new electric vehicle battery plant is being built by Sila, a next-generation battery materials company. Sila says its batteries will help electric vehicles charge faster and travel farther.
The uptake for EVs has been tremendous, and we need to do more of it.
Sila CEO Gene Bartovchesky expects to hire 500 new employees for the new facility. The goal is to produce material for 1 million vehicles by the year 2028.
The vision is to power the world's transition to clean energy. We want every car sold in the U.S. to be electric.
The governor says the new plant will help the environment, but also give the state its own independence to produce this material.
It's good for our national security because now 90% of the graphitic material comes from China. We want to have an independent source.
After visiting the future battery plant, Governor Inslee took part in a roundtable with Habitat for Humanity leaders about helping low-income families get through winter. The conversation focused on how they can save money in the long run through winterization and other energy efficiency upgrades. Now, the new Sila battery plant isn't the only state-of-the-art electric battery company coming into Moses Lake. In October, an electric vehicle battery plant run by Group 14 Technologies opened its doors. Group 14 says they expect to begin manufacturing their batteries by 2024. In the studio, Nathan Han, KREM 2 News.
This will be the second time Richard Aguirre has sat in a Spokane County courtroom accused of murder. The first time was in 2021, but it was eventually declared a mistrial. Now prosecutors are pursuing a retrial for the murder of Ruby Doss, only this time without a jury.
Richard Aguirre is accused of killing Ruby Doss in 1986 near the old Playfair track in Spokane. He waived his right to a jury trial, which means the judge will decide the verdict instead of a jury. Prosecutors are seeking a guilty verdict for either first or second-degree murder. The prosecutor gave the first opening statement. He argued the DNA from a condom found at the crime scene near the victim's body matches Aguirre's.
You're going to hear how the contents of that condom persevered through time with the evolution of DNA technology.
They hope this and other evidence presented to the judge will lead to a guilty verdict.
There was one night where Mr. Aguirre randomly admitted to hitting and choking a woman.
But Aguirre's defense attorney claims the DNA from that condom was mishandled and cross-contaminated.
That evidence was not presented at the first trial.
The defense also argues Aguirre's DNA was not found anywhere on Doss. They believe this implies he had nothing to do with the strangulation that killed her. Instead, they say there is evidence to suggest Doss's pimp may be involved in her death.
Bridget McCoy had stolen money from a John, and Ruby Doss helped the police identify McCoy as the suspect. Robert Lee made it known he was very angry with Ms. Doss. Lee and Bridget McCoy were seen at Zips on Sprague near the manure pit where Ruby Doss died.
Prosecutors called one of Doss's daughters to the witness stand first.
It's really hard. But our mother was a mother.
This is the first time we've seen or heard from any family of Doss. That's because none of them attended the first trial in 2021.
Ms. Doss, how old were you in 1986?
I was 9 years old in 1986.
But today, all 4 of her daughters were in the courtroom.
Spokane County Prosecutor Larry Haskell is trying this case alongside Rich Whaley. Now, to give some perspective, this doesn't happen very often, as we typically only see Haskell on major high-profile cases. Reporting from the Spokane County Courthouse, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Friends and classmates of 11-year-old Lily Stallworthy stood in the bitter cold at Wilcox Park, not far from where the Medical Lake middle schooler lost her life.
These kids are too young to be experiencing this type of heartbreak.
Candles burned through the snowflakes as people shared memories of Lily.
They were always making TikToks and Snapchats. Summertime, they were always in the water.
By all accounts, she was a typical young girl.
She's my daughter's best friend. Lily was like any typical
sassy.
Yes, she was very sassy.
Natasha Hargrave and her 2 kids helped organize the vigil. She says her younger daughter, Ariana, was always by Lily's side.
My daughter was with her the day before this happened. We printed out 107 pictures for her, and she has them posted all over her room.
Deputies say Lily was shot by her 31-year-old brother outside the family home Sunday. He later turned the gun on himself and isn't expected to survive.
She cared for all of us so much. She would never want this to happen, and she would never want us to feel this way. So many people loved her.
That was clear tonight, especially when they ran out of candles.
She was loved. You know, I told my husband too, I said, we need to buy more candles.
Lily was the youngest of 4 adopted girls. Neighbors say her parents have always put others before themselves.
They have been our neighbors for 20 years and very, very good neighbors and very good people. They opened their home to people who needed one, and I just think that world needs these good people, and these incidents should not stop people from doing good.
Lily's parents were at the vigil. Her mom said seeing all these faces tonight brought her joy, and knowing that whenever Lily was away from home, she was surrounded by people who loved and cared for her and kept her safe.
She didn't think that so many people cared about her, but so many people do.
In Medical Lake, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
Testimony wrapped up at about 3 p.m. and today the defense worked to poke holes in some of the evidence found at the scene where Ruby Doss's body was found. Richard Aguirre is accused of killing Ruby Doss near the old Playfair track in Spokane in 1986. Court began with testimony from Detective James Lundgren.
To the best of your knowledge. Yes, I do. Thank you.
Lundgren was a detective for Spokane's Major Crimes Unit the year Doss was killed. During the investigation, Lundgren interviewed Robert Lee, who police say was a pimp and knew Doss at that time. Yesterday in court, the defense said Lee had motive to kill Doss. Today, the defense focused part of its questioning on footprints found at the scene. Prosecutors say they're Aguirre's, but the defense questioned if they could belong to somebody else.
Robert Lee's foot size was never measured, was it?
No.
nor was his blood drawn.
No.
The second witness to take the stand was Carrie Kristen. Kristen is a retired member of the Spokane County Sheriff Forensic Unit. She photographed the crime scene.
Is this a photograph taken by you?
Yes.
Did you provide the measurements on this footprint?
Yes.
When asked about footprints found at the scene, she testified that because the footprints she photographed were on uneven ground and at different angles, it was difficult to take accurate and precise measurements.
You're not going to get an exact size because of the way the ruler is.
Kristen was shown 5 images of footprints with rulers next to them. She testified that because the images are distorted, the footprints cannot be accurately measured by the ruler in the picture. Prosecutors are seeking a guilty verdict for either first or second-degree murder. Court is set to resume again on Tuesday at 9 a.m. In Spokane, Nathan Hun, KREM 2 News.
Council was briefed on this ask early this week. Many aren't happy with being asked to approve more funding, as the Salvation Army has gone over budget several times. With the question of who will run the Trent shelter next year still up in the air, Spokane City Council is now tasked with deciding whether to keep it running through winter.
The contract ends for both Revive and Salvation Army in the end of December.
So effectively, we're deciding whether to continue operating track for 4 months or shut it down Jan 1. That's effectively our choice in front of us. Okay.
Next week, Council will have to vote whether to approve a contract extension with the Salvation Army through April.
The total contract increase is $3,930,000.
$3.2 million is to run the shelter for those 4 months, while $730,000 is to cover Salvation Army going over budget this year. Extra costs for sheltering 300 people a day included meals, laundry, and warming centers.
This is the only choice we have. The amount of money that's being requested is more than really we can truly afford.
Several council members expressed frustration about having to make this call in the 11th hour. In September, Mayor Nadine Woodward's administration put a pause on the process of awarding the 2024 contract. Many questioned the timing, since it looked like Jules Helping Hands was set to win that bid.
Well, what I can tell you is that it has nothing to do with the applicants themselves. It has everything to do with the ability to pay whatever chosen applicant occurred.
Brian Coddington says the issue was a lack of about $9 million in funding to pay whatever provider was chosen. Now, with the process still delayed and a new mayor taking over, Coddington says it makes more sense to wait.
A short-term extension of the contract gives them flexibility to have other options. As we understand it, as the mayor-elect has campaigned, she has other ideas about how she wants to do things, and so she would be able to bring forward different options for the council to consider.
Council has a tough choice come Monday. Pay millions while they go back to the drawing board for the long term, or leave hundreds out in the cold. Some council members said they are hesitant to approve this extension with no certainty Salvation Army won't go over budget again and ask for more funding. Michael Cathcart said there needs to be an audit system or on-site monitoring on how the money is spent. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus for a look at some of the biggest news stories of the past week. For the most current news throughout the weekend, you can watch our latest newscast right here on KREM 2 Plus. Just look for them in the bottom navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.